Hi, Peter Russell here from Supertax.ca. Welcome to another one of my video blogs. Today we're discussing the medical expense tax credit here in Canada. Just a brief and general understanding. So where do you find the medical expense tax credit? Well, it's found on Schedule 1, line 330 and 331 of your T1 General Canadian Income Tax Return. It's a non-refundable tax credit and it's subject to a threshold, which means that you must have enough medical expenses during the year for it to have any effect on your income taxes. The threshold is the lower of two numbers. The first number is 2024 and the second number is 3% of your net income in 2010. So I'm going to give you a simple example. Let's suppose you've earned $40,000 in 2010 and that is your actual net income for tax purposes, line 236. Well, 3% of $40,000 is $1,200. That means that the lower of $1,200 and 2024 is $1,200. Therefore, for every dollar of medical expenses you incur and are eligible in 2010, you will start to receive a non-refundable tax credit. So let's suppose that you incurred $5,000 of medical expenses in 2010. Well, you know your threshold is $1,200. That means you would have $3,800, which is $5,000 less $1,200, $3,800 of eligible medical expense tax credit on your non-refundable tax credit line. Okay, now what is line 331 for? Well, line 330 is medical expenses paid by you on behalf of you, your spouse, or your children. Line 331 is for eligible medical expenses paid on behalf of any other dependents, such as, say, your mother or your father, your aunt or uncle, or maybe a grandchild. They are also subject to the same limitations as discussed. So let's say that your dependent is your elderly father who's living within your household. Suppose you've spent $5,000 of medical expenses on him. Let's suppose his net income for tax purposes is $15,000 in 2010. Well then, at $15,000, 3% of that is $450. Therefore, the eligible medical expense tax credit you'd receive on behalf of your dependent father would be $5,000 less $450, which is equal to $4,550. Now there's a limit to the amount of medical expense tax credit you can claim on behalf of a dependent. That is $10,000. So let's say that the father had $15,000 of medical expenses you paid on behalf of him. Well, then the maximum that you could use is $10,000. No amount can be carried forward to another year. Now, another thing to consider is you can claim any 12-month period within the year of medical expenses as long as the month ended sometime during that year. So, if it worked to your advantage, if you could claim from August 1st, 2009 to July 31st, 2010, then you could claim that period. You could not claim August 1st, 2010 to December 31st, 2010. That would go on to the next year. You must be consistent that way. Okay, now what type of medical expenses are eligible? The usual ones I see are things such as prescriptions, dental care, lab services, nursing home costs, attendant care costs, walking aids, hearing aids. The type of things that usually are not eligible as a medical expense for the medical expense tax credit would be things such as birth control, wigs, fitness memberships, organic foods, any item bought over the counter in a drugstore, such as vitamins. How about diaper services would not be eligible either. And cosmetic surgery. Any cosmetic surgery pretty much after March of 2010 is not eligible unless it was due to repair some form of deformity that was already there. So if you were to go and improve your skin with Botox, that is not eligible as a medical expense anymore. Also, a nose job would not be considered a medical expense for 2010 either. Any sort of cosmetic surgery which improves your looks but wasn't really necessary is not eligible. Think of it that way. Now, I hope you found this video informative. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please feel free to send me an email at peter@Supertax.ca. You can leave a note below on YouTube here, or you can contact me at my Twitter account, which is SupertaxMan, or you can find me on LinkedIn too. Thank you very much.